When it comes to storytelling that balances raw emotion, incredible action, and deep world building, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu, no Yaiba has constantly set the bar higher and higher with every arc. But if there's one stretch of the series that really cements why this anime has captured so many hearts worldwide, it's the Infinity Castle arc. And today, I want to break it down in detail. What actually happens inside this mind-bending fortress, what it means for the characters we've been following since day one, and how it sets up the final stretch of Demon Slayer's story. So, if you've just finished the Infinity Castle arc, or you're preparing yourself for the upcoming anime adaptation, this video is for you. I'll be explaining the ending of the Infinity Castle storyline, highlighting the character transformations, emotional sacrifices, and most importantly, teasing what's coming next in the Sunrise Countdown arc. Welcome to Hollywood Latest News. My name is Luke Harrison, and here on the channel I love diving deep into the biggest movies, shows, and anime, pulling apart the details and theories you might have missed. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining, and if you've been around before, welcome back. Now, let's get right into Demon Slayer. The Infinity Castle itself is almost like a character. Unlike other battlegrounds we've seen in the series, this fortress isn't just a stage, it's a constantly shifting maze created and controlled by Nakame, a demon loyal to Muzan. Every corridor, every wall, every staircase can suddenly change position, separating allies, throwing enemies together, or creating sudden traps. This isn't just flashy world building, it fundamentally changes the way battles play out. We're not watching straightforward one-on-one fights anymore. We're watching our heroes adapt to unpredictability in real time. And that's something I've always loved about this arc. Because the Infinity Castle forces the Demon Slayer core into situations they never would have faced otherwise. Characters who might not usually fight side by side suddenly have no choice but to trust each other. Strategies collapse the moment Nakimi changes the layout. It's chaotic, it's overwhelming, and it's the perfect metaphor for the uphill battle against Muzan's forces. But let's talk about the real heart of the arc, the characters themselves. For Tanjiro, the Infinity Castle is basically the point where he stops being the boy we met at the beginning of the story. We've seen him grow stronger across the series. We've seen his determination push him past his limits. But inside the castle, something shifts. He's no longer just fighting for survival or for Nezuko's safety. He's stepping into the role of someone who has to carry the weight of everyone's hopes and sacrifices. And that's a heavy thing to take on. What I noticed while rereading this part of the manga is how deliberate the creators are with showing Tanjiro's composure. Even when he's facing demons far beyond his power level, even when his body is screaming at him to give up, there's a calm clarity in his actions. That's not the Tanjiro we knew in the early arcs. This is the Tanjiro who understands that the only way forward is to shoulder responsibility, no matter how unbearable it feels. And then, of course, we have Nezuko. Her transformation is one of the biggest emotional punches in the Infinity Castle arc. Up to this point, Nezuko has been the precious younger sister Tanjiro has sworn to protect, the one who constantly reminds us of what's at stake. But in the castle, she begins to redefine that role. She's not just someone who needs protecting anymore. She becomes a true partner in battle. Her demonic powers evolve. Her humanity shines through in key moments. And by the time the arc ends, Nezuko isn't just Tanjiro's motivation. She's his equal on the battlefield. For me, that shift is so important. Because it's easy to think of Nezuko only as the end goal. The sister Tanjiro wants to cure. But here, she proves that she has her own agency, her own journey, and her own sacrifices to make. The Infinity Castle doesn't just change Tanjiro, it transforms Nezuko into one of the most essential fighters in the entire Demon Slayer Corps. Now, we can't talk about this arc without acknowledging the incredible role of the Hashira. Each Hashira fight inside the Infinity Castle feels like a personal trial. The stakes are massive, yes, but what really hit me emotionally was how each fight reflected the individual's backstory, personality, and growth. Take Gyomei, the Stone Hashira, for example. The man's strength is undeniable, but in the Infinity Castle, we see more of the inner burden he carries. His fight isn't just physical, it's spiritual. Every swing of his weapon feels like it's fueled by both devotion and sorrow. Or Shinobu, the insect Hashira. Her confrontation with Doma is one of the most painful moments in the arc. And what gets me every time is that her battle plan isn't about victory in the traditional sense. It's about sacrifice. It's about knowing she can't defeat Doma in a direct fight, but finding a way to leave a mark, to leave behind something that will help her allies succeed. And that idea of sacrifice, knowing your life might be the cost of moving the mission forward, is woven throughout the entire arc. That brings me to what I think is the most emotionally devastating part of the Infinity Castle, the sheer number of losses. Demon Slayer has never shied away from death, but here, the deaths hit harder, because they're so intertwined with the characters' personal journeys. When a Hashira falls, it's not just a fighter going down, it's a lifetime of pain, growth, and conviction being extinguished. What struck me while thinking about these sacrifices is how they're never framed as meaningless. Every death pushes someone else forward. Every final moment passes the torch to another Slayer. It's tragic, yes, but it's also a reminder of the chain of responsibility that defines the core. No one's sacrifice is wasted, and that's exactly what gives Tanjiro the strength to keep going even as everything around him falls apart. But the Infinity Castle isn't just about emotion, it's also about strategy. One detail I think people sometimes overlook is how much the environment itself dictates the fights. For instance, Nakimi's manipulation of the castle isn't just annoying, it's a tactical nightmare. Imagine fighting an upper-rank demon with your life on the line, and suddenly the floor disappears beneath you, or the walls slam shut, or you're thrown into a new arena with no warning. That randomness levels the playing field in unexpected ways. And what I love is how the Demon Slayers adapt. We see unexpected team-ups because of this. Characters who don't normally sync up suddenly have to watch each other's backs. It's those forced alliances, those sudden moments of trust, that give the Infinity Castle a different energy than previous arcs. It's not just about who's the strongest. It's about who can think on their feet and work with whoever fate throws next to them. Of course, all of this builds to the looming presence of Muzan Kibutsuji himself. The Infinity Castle is his domain, his stronghold, the place where he should be untouchable. And yet, this is also the arc that strips away some of his mystique. Inside the castle, we see Muzan not just as a distant overlord, but as a desperate tyrant who knows the walls are closing in. He's still terrifying, still unbelievably powerful, but the cracks in his confidence start to show. I think that's such a clever choice by the storytellers, because for the longest time, Muzan has been this almost godlike figure, a shadow pulling the strings. But here, as the Demon Slayer Corps forces their way into his lair, he's forced to face them directly. And in that confrontation, we see both his overwhelming strength and his underlying fear of the inevitable sunrise, which naturally leads us into what's next, the Sunrise Countdown arc. The Infinity Castle isn't the final chapter, it's the gateway to the endgame. By the time the dust settles, we've lost beloved characters, we've seen Tanjiro and Nezuko transform, and we've pushed Muzan into a corner. The castle collapses, and what follows is the desperate race against time. The Sunrise Countdown arc takes all the tension of the Infinity Castle and condenses it into a ticking clock scenario. Muzan knows dawn will kill him. The Demon Slayer Corps knows this is their one chance to finally end his reign. And what makes it so intense is that there's no room left for preparation. Everyone is battered, exhausted, grieving, and yet they have to fight like never before because this is the last stand. I won't go into heavy spoilers for how that arc plays out because I know some of you might want to experience it fresh when the anime gets there. But I will say this, the Infinity Castle ending is only the calm before the storm. The next arc is a relentless sprint where every second counts, and every decision could mean the difference between victory and complete annihilation. Looking back, I think what makes the Infinity Castle so special is how it blends spectacle with humanity. On the surface, it's an action-packed thrill ride with shifting floors, massive battles, and jaw-dropping animation potential. But underneath, it's a deeply human story about responsibility, sacrifice, and the cost of fighting for a better future. Tanjiro's maturity, Nezuko's awakening, the Hashira's sacrifices, the unpredictable dynamics, it all comes together to deliver not just a climactic arc, but a thematic culmination of everything Demon Slayer has been building toward since the start. And knowing that this sets the stage for the final confrontation with Muzan makes it all the more powerful. So, those are my thoughts on the Infinity Castle arc, what it means for our characters, and what's next for Demon Slayer. I'd love to hear what you think too. Was there a particular fight, death, or moment that stood out to you the most? For me, Shinobu's sacrifice always lingers the longest, but I know everyone connects to different parts of this story. Thank you so much for watching today's breakdown here on Hollywood Latest News. I'm Luke Harrison, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like to directly support the work I do here, please consider using Super Thanks. Anything up to $20 goes a long way in keeping these videos coming. Until next time, keep an eye out for the dawn, because in Demon Slayer, every sunrise changes everything.